Hello, squirrels. It's time for little men. I wanted to get more of my sign in. Y'all can see me all right, right? Chapter 15 is called In the Willow. The old tree saw and heard a good many little scenes and confidences that summer because it became the favorite retreat of all the children, and the willow seemed to enjoy it, for a pleasant welcome always met them, and the quiet hours spent in its arms did them all good. It had a great deal of company one Saturday afternoon, and some little bird reported what went on there. First came Nan and Daisy with their small tubs and bits of soap, for now and then they were seized with a tidy fit and washed up all their dolls' clothes in the brook. Asia would not have them slopping round in her kitchen, and the bathroom was forbidden since Nan forgot to turn off the water till it overflowed and came gently dripping down through the ceiling. Oh no. Daisy went systematically to work, washing first the white and then the colored things, rinsing them nicely and hanging them to dry on a cord fastened from one barberry bush to the other, and pinning them up with a set of tiny clothespins. Clothespins Ned had turned for her, so he made them. But Nan put all her little things to soak in the same tub and then forgot them while she collected thistledown to stuff a pillow for Semiramis, Queen of Babylon, as one doll was named. This took some time, and when Mrs. Giddy-Gaddy came to take out her clothes, deep green stains appeared on everything, for she had forgotten the green silk lining of a certain cape, and its color had soaked nicely into the pink and blue gowns, the little chemises, and even the best ruffled petticoats. "Oh, me, what a mess," sighed Nan. "Lay them on the grass to bleach," said Daisy with an air of experience. "So I will, and we can sit up in the nest and watch that they don't blow away." The Queen of Babylon's wardrobe was spread forth upon the bank, and turning up their tubs to dry, the little washerwomen climbed into the nest and fell to talking, as ladies are apt to do in the pauses of domestic labor. "I'm going to have a feather bed to go with my new pillow," said Mrs. Giddy-Gaddy as she transferred the thistledown from her pocket to her handkerchief, losing about half in the process. "I wouldn't. Aunt Jo says feather beds aren't healthy. I never let my children sleep on anything but a mattress," returned Mrs. Shakespeare Smith decidedly. "I don't care. My children are so strong they often sleep on the floor and don't mind it," which was quite true. "I can't afford 9 mattresses, and I like to make beds myself. Won't Tommy charge for the feathers?" "Maybe he will, but I shan't pay him, and he won't care," returned Mrs. G, taking a base advantage of the well-known good nature of T. Bangs. "I think the pink will fade out of that dress sooner than the green mark will," observed Mrs. S, looking down from her perch and changing the subject, for she and her gossip differed on many points, and Mrs. Smith was a discreet lady. "Never mind, I'm tired of dolls, and guess I shall put them all away and attend to my farm. I like it rather better than playing house," said Mrs. G, unconsciously expressing the desire of many older ladies who cannot propose of their families so easily, however. "But you mustn't leave them. They will die without their mother," cried the tender Mrs. Smith. "Let 'em die, then. I'm tired of fussing over babies." "I'm going to go play with the boys. They need me to see to 'em," returned the strong-minded lady. Daisy knew nothing about women's rights. She quietly took all she wanted, and no one denied her claim because she did not undertake what she could not carry out. but unconsciously used the all-powerful right of her own influence to win from others any privilege for which she had proved her fitness. Nan attempted all sorts of things, undaunted by direful failures, and clamored fiercely to be allowed to do everything that the boys did. They laughed at her, hustled her out of the way, and protested against her meddling with their affairs. But she would not be quenched, and she would be heard, for her will was strong, and she had the spirit of a rampant reformer. Mrs. Bear sympathized with her, but tried to curb her frantic desire for entire liberty, showing her that she must wait a little, learn self-control, and be ready to use her freedom before she asked for it. Nan had meek moments when she agreed to this, and the influence at work upon her were gradually taking effect. She no longer declared that she would be engine driver or a blacksmith, but turned her mind to farming, and found in it a vent for the energy bottled up in her active little body. It did not quite satisfy her, however, for her sage and sweet marjoram were dumb things and could not thank her for her care. She wanted something human to love, work for, and protect, and was never happier than when the little boys brought their cut fingers, bumped heads, or bruised joints for her to mend up. Seeing this, Mrs. Joe proposed that she should learn how to do it nicely, and Nursey had an apt pupil in bandaging, plastering, and fomenting. The boys began to call her Dr. Giddy Gaddy, and she liked it so well that Mrs. Joe one day said to the professor, "Fritz, I see what we can do for that child. She wants something to live for even now, and will be one of the sharp, strong, discontented women if she does not have it. Don't let us snub her restless little nature, but do our best to give her the work she likes, and by persuade her father to let her study medicine. She will make a capital doctor, for she has courage, strong nerves, a tender heart, and an intense love and pity for the weak and suffering." Mr. Bear smiled at first, but agreed to try, and gave Nan an herb garden, teaching her the various healing properties of the plants that she tended, and letting her try their virtues on the children try her virtues on the children and the little illnesses they had from time to time. There. She learned fast, remembered well, and showed a sense and interest most encouraging to her professor, who did not shut his door in her face because she was a little woman. She was thinking of this as she sat in the willow by that day, and when Daisy said in her gentle way, "I love to keep house, and mean to have a nice one for Demi when we grow up and live together," Nan replied with decision, "Well, I haven't got any brother, and I don't want any house to fuss over. I shall have an office with lots of bottles and drawers and pestle things in it, and I shall drive round in a horse and chase and cure sick people. That will be such fun. Ugh! How can you bear the bad-smelling stuff and the nasty little powders and castor oil and senna and hive syrup?" cried Daisy with a shudder. "I shan't have to take any, so I don't care. Besides, they make people well, and I like to cure folks. Don't my sage tea make Mother Bear's headache go away? And my hops stop Ned's toothache in 5 hours? So now, shall you put leeches on people and cut off legs and pull out teeth?" asked Daisy, quaking at the thought. "Yes, I shall do everything. I don't care if the people are all smashed up. I shall mend them. My grandpa was a doctor, and I saw him sew a great cut in a man's cheek, and I held the sponge and wasn't frightened a bit, and Grandpa said I was a brave girl. How could you? I'm sorry for sick people, and I like to nurse them, but it makes my legs shake so I have to run away. I'm not a brave girl, sighed Daisy. Well, you can be my nurse and cuddle my patients when I have given them the given them the physic and cut off their legs, said Nan, whose practice was evidently to be of the heroic kind. Ship ahoy! Where are you, Nan? Called a voice from below. Here we are. Aye, aye, said the voice, and Emil appeared holding one hand and the other with his face puckered up as if in pain. Oh, what's the matter? Cried Daisy anxiously. A confounded splinter in my thumb. Can't get it out. Take a pick at it, will you, Nanny? It's in very deep, and I haven't any needles, said Nan, examining a Terry thumb with interest. Take a pin, said Emil in a hurry. No, it's too big and hasn't got a sharp point. Have Daisy, who had dived, wait a minute, excuse me. Here Daisy, who had dived into her pocket, presented a neat little housewife with 4 needles in it. You are the posy who always has what we want, said Emil, and Nan resolved to have a needle book in her own pocket henceforth, for just such cases as this were always occurring in her practice. Daisy covered her eyes, but Nan probed and picked with a steady hand while Emil gave directions, not down in any medical work or record. Starboard now, steady, boy, steady. Try another tack. Heave-ho, there she is. Suck it, ordered the doctor, surveying the splinter with an experienced eye. Too dirty, responded the patient, shaking his bleeding hand. Wait, I'll tie it up if you've got a handkerchief. Haven't. Take one of those rags down there. Gracious, no, indeed, they are dog clothes, cried Daisy indignantly. Take one of mine. I'd like to have you, said Nan. And swinging himself down, Emil caught up the first rag he saw. It happened to be the frilled skirt. But Nan tore it up without a murmur, and when the royal petticoat was turned into a neat little bandage, she dismissed her patient with the command, keep it wet and let it alone, then it will heal right. It will heal right up and not be sore. Keep it wet? What do you charge? Asked the Commodore, laughing. Nothing. I keep a spencery. That's a place where poor people are doctored free gratis for nothing, explained Nan with an air. Thank you, Dr. Giddy-Gaddy. I'll always call you in when I come to grief. And Emil departed, but looked back to say one good turn deserves another. Your duds are blowing away, Doctor. Forgiving the disrespectful word duds, the ladies hastily descended and gathered up their wash, retired to the house to fire up the little stove, and go to ironing. A passing breath of air shook the old willow as if it laughed softly at the children, at the childish chatter which went on in the nest, and it had hardly composed itself when another pair of birds alighted for a confidential twitter. Now I'll let you tell the secret, began Tommy, who was now swelling visibly with the importance of his news. Tell away, answered Nat, wishing he had brought his fiddle. It was so shady and quiet here. Well, we fellas were talking over the late interest case of circumstantial evidence, and Timothy quoting at random from a speech Franz had made at the club, and proposed giving Dan something to make up for our suspecting him, to show our respect and so on. You know, something handsome and useful that he could keep always and be proud of. What do you think we chose? A butterfly net. He wants one, ever so much, said Nat, looking a little disappointed, for he meant to get it himself. No, no, sir, it's to be a microscope, a real swell one that we can see, what do you call them, in water with, and stars and ant eggs and all sorts of games, you know. Won't it be a jolly good present? Said Tommy, rather confusing microscopes and telescopes in his I was wondering about that. Tip top, I'm so glad. Won't it cost a heap, though? Cried Nat, feeling that his friend was beginning to be so appreciated. Of course it will, but we're all going to give. Of course it will, but we are all going to give something. I headed the paper with my $5, for if it is done at all, it must be done handsome. What? All of it? I never did see such a generous chap as you, said Nan, and Nan beamed upon him with sincere admiration. Well, you see, I've been bothered with my property that I'm tired of it. So bothered that I'm tired of it and don't mean to save up any more, but give it away as I go along. And then nobody will envy me or want to steal it, and I shan't be suspecting folks and worrying about my odd cash, replied Tommy, on whom the cares and anxieties of a millionaire weigh heavily. Will Mr. Banks let you do it? He thought it was a first-rate plan and said that some of the best men he knew preferred to do good work with their money instead of laying it up to be squabbled over when they died. Your father is rich. Does he do that? I'm not sure. He gives me all I want. I know that much. I'm going to talk to him about it when I go home. Anyhow, I shall set him a good example. And Tommy was so serious that Nat did not dare to laugh, but said respectfully, You will be able to do ever so much with your money, won't you? And folks, I'm going to have to stop right there. Sleep's overtaken me again. Just had my B12 the other day. I don't know what's going on. Grr. It's hard to get my stitching done, reading done, anything when I'm so sleepy. I'll be back later on to do not Little House on the Prairie, but On the Banks of Plum Creek, I think. I don't have the book. I meant to go to the library and I forgot. So, and today's Saturday and they're not open Sunday, so I'll have to wait till Monday. But I think I have a sample of maybe the first 3 chapters or so of On the Banks of Plum Creek. So, we'll be back later and do that. Mwah. Love to you all. Many blessings. Be sweet, don't be ugly. Under here somewhere. I forgot to show all my bags today on live. Karen didn't come on and remind me. 1, 2, 3 bags. I'm so blessed. But boy, do I ever need them with all my yarn and projects. Here's my sign from Jessica, and here's my little squirrel from Thais that is so soft. I forgot what I named him. Was it Cletus? Love ya. Bye-bye.